So the first news item is obviously Pope Paul VI's canonization, which a lot of traditionalists are frustrated over. What are your thoughts, Charles?
Well, firstly, I understand the frustrations completely. I lived through Paul VI. You know, there should be a T-shirt. I lived through Paul VI, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. Uh,
Wow,
so I,
somebody should really do that. Somebody should really
yeah,
do that.
I lived through Paul VI, and all I got was this lousy T-shirt. And to be honest with you, on the one hand, I understand the pain. I share it. The man, as a pope, was a failure. He ruined things. I mean, there's just no way around that. But it's all on one side. On the other side, we have to remember that he found a line in the sand that he couldn't go past, and that turned out to be contraception. He gave us Humane Vitae, which was a very prophetic document, and it destroyed him. It really ruined him. I remember that too. And of course, after that was when he began saying things that were a little bit more realistic, like of the smoke of Satan in the church. He didn't do anything to repair the damage he and his cohorts had done, but I suppose, if nothing else, his cohorts would not have cooperated with him in repairing what they'd done. In truth, um, assuming that I suppose that he got there because of the misery he endured the last decade of his pontificate. You have to remember that popes are not, when popes are canonized, that does not necessarily, by any means, endorse what they did in their pontificate. It can, I'm not saying it can't, but if we look at Pope St. Celestine V, after whose abdication Pope Benedict XVI modeled his, he was an utter failure as a pope. That's why he abdicated. It was terrible. It was awful. He knew it. So he got out of Dodge. What he was made not his failed papacy, but his personal sanctity. Now, having said that, will I ever like Pope Paul VI, humanly speaking? Probably not. I wish I could say that this changes everything I've ever felt about the man. Uh, Probably if I had lived under Celestine V's short pontificate, I would not have had a high regard for him.
Okay.
Probably, this canonization particular time for partly political reasons, but that does not get around the miracles that occurred. And that's the basis upon which someone is canonized. It's certainly true that someone's canonization may be pushed forward or held back for political reasons. That's true, absolutely. But, there's a big but, um, you're still stuck with the miracles. The person is in heaven. Uh, but having said that, people who have pushed for his Paul VI, I mean, if they really want to honor him, they should A, really push Humane Vitae. We can expect to see from Pope Francis, if he really wants to honor his predecessor, an encyclical, sort of a quinquagesimo anno, honoring Humane Vitae, the way Pius XI honored Leo XIII's Rerum Novarum with his own equally rip-roaring quadragesimo anno. Down Francis begin dressing like Pope Paul VI, and no doubt he will return to the pontifical we, to avoid emphasizing himself or his own personality. At least if he doesn't do all those things, people will question his sincerity. I won't, of course. I never question anyone's sincerity. I believe everyone's sincere.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will.
I can understand everyone's emotional reaction. I think there are two reasons for it. One is I've seen people share on Facebook sort of a list of popes of the past 500 years,
Yep,
and in the 400 years before Vatican II, there have been two popes that have become saints,
yep,
and then after Vatican II, it's what is it? We're up to three now, and then And then I think John Paul I is venerable, I think.
I don't know. Pius XII is venerable, but I don't think we'll see him canonized in this pontificate.
Yeah, so, people say they're trying to canonize the council. What do you think about that?
I think that's probably true. But I repeat, you don't make miracles out of nothing.
Okay. And now the other thing I think, because there are sort of two aspects of saints. One, obviously, if we're saying this person is infallibly in heaven, but then there's sort of this other expectation that we have from saints, where they are role models. They're exemplary. We try to mimic them. We try to mimic Saint Francis's charity. We try to stand up for the faith like the martyrs. But most of us, all we know about Paul VI is, sort of Humanae Vitae, as you said, and then sort of his association with the Novus Ordo. So it's kind of difficult for us. So it's like, how do we model ourselves after Paul VI? I mean, what were the qualities, to look at there?
I would say that having committed himself to a horrific course which brought the church into terrible peril, he nevertheless he came to a point beyond which he could not go. And he drew the line in the sand, and despite losing his reputation, I mean, most of my hearers are too young to remember what it was like when Humanae Vitae was released. The whole provinces, like the Belgians and the Canadians, came out against it. I mean, this was a terrible, terrible time to be Paul VI.
Yeah.
So as to the lesson to be learned from his life, it's that no matter how much you may screw things up, if once you get your head on right, stick to it.
Okay.
That's a cold comfort thing, I'm afraid. But, I mean, look at St. Augustine, who's my confirmation saint. He led a horribly scandalous life. If all you knew about him were his confessions, you'd think, my God, what's a man like that doing as a saint? Same with St. Norbert, the founder of the Norbertines. But those men were not to their scandalous youths, but for their repentance. Paul VI never, so far as we can tell, repented of what he did to the church before Humanae Vitae. But going along with birth control would have been in keeping with everything he had done at that point. And the fact that he suddenly changed horses in midstream against everyone's expectation. So we got to remember, he had appointed a lay committee to look into birth control. The idea being, well, these are lay people and it concerns them. They found in favor of the church coming out for birth control.
Wow.
Now, it was a stupid idea to do that in the first place, and it set himself up for a fall. But nevertheless, he went against the findings of his own committee and opened himself up for ridicule and much worse as a result.
I'd pay $100 to know specifically and concretely what Pope Paul VI meant when he said the smoke of Satan. I'd love to know what he was referencing.
Keep that in mind if you go to heaven afterwards and find out.
I'd love to ask him. I'd love to ask him that.
I'd like to ask Adam a few things.
What would you ask Adam? What would you ask him? What were you thinking?
Yeah, really? Really?
Really?
Was there ever any chick ever born who was worth this? Honestly?
Whoa.
Honestly?
Whoa.
Anyway.